Dexter Southfield Middle School Grammar. Today we're talking about participle phrases. You may remember this very important information about phrases and you do not need to copy it down again. But to give you an idea as to where we are, remember there are three types of phrases: prepositional, verbal, and appositive. And today we're talking about a specific type of verbal phrase, the participle phrase. So what is a verbal phrase? Well, a verbal is a word that is formed from a verb, but it's used as either a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. And there are three kinds of verbals. There's the participle, there's the gerund, and there's the infinitive. So today we're going to talk about the participle, and eventually we'll get to the other two types of verbals, the gerund and the infinitive. So a participle is a verb that can be used as an adjective. Now there's two different types of participles. There's the present participle and there's the past participle. So a present ends in ing and past participles end in ed, d, and sometimes they are irregular. Take a look at these 5 sentences and we'll take a look at what a participle looks like. Kevin entered a pitching contest. Well, Kevin is your subject. Entered is your verb. And then we have a pitching contest. Well, pitching is the participle. And isn't it fair to say that the verb, I should say pitch, is a verb to pitch? Well, in this example, the verb to pitch has been turned into an adjective, pitching. And it is modifying the noun contest. So pitching, in this case, is your participle. How about the trotting horses were pretty? There should be a period there. Very sorry. The trotting horses were pretty. Trot is a verb normally. The horses trotted. I saw the horse trot. Well, in this case, trotting is acting like an adjective, right? Horses is your subject. It's a noun. And trotting is describing the horses. So it's also acting like an adjective. So again, this is your participle. The cracked furnace needed to be replaced. Well, your verb here is needed. And furnace is your subject. And then to be replaced is a prep phrase. So let's take a look at cracked. Cracked is an adjective describing the furnace, and it's also, you could tell it used to be a verb. The furnace cracked would be using crack as a verb, but in this case, it's acting like an adjective. So therefore, it's a verb. It became an adjective. It's the participle. This movie sold at Best Buy is expensive. Now, in this case, what we're going to have is a participle phrase, but for now, we're just going to look at what the participle is. Movie is your subject. Is your linking verb. Expensive is your predicate nominative. So that just leaves this right here. Sold at Best Buy. Sold is a verb that's helping to describe the movie. Therefore, it is a participle. It is an adjective describing the movie. And then finally, spoken quickly, his public speaking was hard to hear. Going through this again. His public speaking, subject speaking, was, is your linking verb. And then hard is your predicate adjective. And then to hear, we can get to what this is later. That's actually an infinitive phrase, but more on that later. In this case, we have to figure out what spoken quickly is. This is also a participle phrase, and the participle is the word spoken. It's helping to describe the public speaking. It's describing the speaking. And spoken is the verb. The word spoke is oftentimes a verb. The public speaking was spoken. That would be using it as a verb. But in this case, it's describing the subject speaking. Once you understand this, you can look at what a participle phrase is more carefully. A participle phrase consists of a participle and any modifiers or complements the participle has. The entire phrase is used as an adjective. First sentence, I heard the fans screaming loudly during the game. Well, this is definitely a prep phrase, during the game. I is your subject, heard is your verb, the fans, that's your direct object. and screaming is your participle. The phrase here is screaming loudly during the game. To be clear, screaming loudly helps describe the noun fans. And we must include the prep phrase during the game because this is an adverb phrase modifying the adverb loudly. Therefore, it all is one big participle phrase. In the second sentence, scared by the ghost, Vincent ran away. Well, Vincent is your subject, ran is your verb, and therefore your participle phrase is scared by the ghost with the participle being scared. In this case, this is describing Vincent. In the third one, the tree decorated with lights was in the living room. The tree is your subject. Was is your verb. In the living room is a prep phrase. So we need to look at decorated with lights. Decorated is your participle. With lights is a prepositional phrase. And it's, in this case, it's modifying the word decorated, which is a participle which acts like an adjective, which makes this an adjective prepositional phrase. This entire participle phrase, decorated with lights, is helping to describe the tree, a noun. Things can get kind of wacky with misplaced participle phrases. Take a look at the first one. Driving by her house, Judy's dog barked at me. This makes it seem as if Judy's dog is driving a car. This is a misplaced participle phrase. Look at the second sentence. Driving by her house, I heard Judy's dog bark at me. The key is the word I. It needs to be near, literally near, the participle phrase in the sentence. Otherwise, things can be confusing. For reflection, write a sentence with a misplaced participle phrase. Feel free to make it silly, but appropriate, of course.